I think of the altar as a kind of home base, a touchstone, where we can be guaranteed that if we come to the altar, we will meet God, that there is this meeting between heaven and earth. It's very interesting that in our Anglican tradition, we have all kinds of language for the altar. And in fact, if you get out your Book of Common Prayer, you would be very hard pressed to find the word altar. I have in my mind that it appears there once as altar, but I can't remember where. But it's usually called the Lord's table. And the point, of course, is that the altar or the table is a place where the community gathers to eat, and that we build community and are made one, because we who are many are one body, because we participate in the one bread. That's why the altar is so central in Anglican architecture. If you walk into an Anglican church, it's the first thing you see, and it's the biggest piece of furniture in the place. It's a church word, isn't it? An altar is a church word. And I know that we tend to think of it as a place of sacrifice. But actually, that language comes out of a long history. From earliest times, if you think back to the Hebrew Scriptures, when people had an intense encounter with the holy, they would do something to mark that place for future pilgrims. So if you think of the story of Jacob fleeing his brother Esau, whom he has offended deeply, and he has this dream alone in the desert one night of a ladder between heaven and earth and angels ascending and descending. And in the morning he wakes up and he says, surely God was in this place and I did not know it. And he gives it a name. He calls it Bethel, house of God. But the thing about names is you take them with you. What he also did was he took his pillow, a stone that he had, kept his head on all night, and he upended it in a most unnatural position, not the way you would find a stone in the desert. And its role was to say to any wayfarer, this is what the Celts would call a thin place. This is a place where God is to be found. Maundy Thursday is the day when the church commemorates the institution of the Eucharist, which of course was Jesus' last supper with his disciples on the night before he died, and in which he took bread and he took wine in the middle of the meal, and he called them his body and blood. So he also promised that whenever people ate and drank these elements in his name, no matter what would happen to him that night or the next day, he would be with them. So the Eucharist and the altar itself are kind of a symbol of the way in which heaven is guaranteed by these actions to kiss the earth.